Cornplanter Kiontwogy. It was agreed by the Schoharie settlers in the summer of 1780 that they had never seen finer fields of grain. It would be one of the prosperous harvests on the frontier. Times had been better during the past year. Frames houses had replaced some of the early crude log cabins. There were plenty of horses, and the herds of cows had increased, so that there was scarcely a pasture that didn't have several good milkers. The long war was fading. For more than a year, the dread cry of "Butler and Brant's in the valley" had not been heard. There was even talk of peace, and some said the lobsterbacks were only too happy to go home. There was one lingering doubt: the Seneca. The nation was reported still licking its wounds from General Sullivan's scorched earth invasion. Scouts predicted they would return under Cornplanter, the Seneca's capable young war captain. This time, they came from all directions. Indians under Brant, regulars and Butler's Rangers under old Colonel John. They received reinforcements along the Tioga route and headed for Schoharie. On September the 17th, Cornplanter led his single file of painted braves to Unadilla to join Sir John Johnson's forces. Crossing Summit Lake, they swooped down on the settlements. Stone Arabia was sacked by Cornplanter's braves, who put the lush fields to the torch. There was a strong west wind to fan the flames. And the Seneca were delirious with revenge, whooping, howling, and firing off their muskets. Great columns of smoke cast shadows on the slowly rising hunter's moon. Then, at Fort Plain, occurred one of those events in war that is so melodramatic, it is almost trite. A batch of white prisoners, men, women, and children, were being herded together when one of the men spoke quietly to a Seneca guard in his own tongue and asked what they intended to do with them. The surprised guard summoned Brant, who stared hard at the tall, sinewy man of about 55 with a weather-beaten face. The Mohawk knew him to be John O'Bail, spelled in colonial documents Obeal, Obal, and Abil. And they talked for a few minutes. In his youth, O'Bail had lived with the Indians, and at one time had a Seneca wife. After she died, he had returned to the Mohawk and made a haphazard living as a farmer, trapper, Indian interpreter, and scout. Brant hurried to find Cornplanter. Before they left the valley, Cornplanter came up to the prisoners and studied O'Bail closely. "Are you the white man called John O'Bail?" he asked at last. "I am John O'Bail," the settler replied. "Did you have a wife in the Seneca castle?" Cornplanter asked. I had a Seneca woman, but that was a long time ago, was the reply. The Seneca war captain, his face streaked with red and black paint, put his hand on Obeil's shoulder. That woman was my mother. I am your son. He took Obeil aside and told him, if you now choose to follow me and live with my people, I will promise to cherish your old age with plenty of venison, and you shall live easy. But if it is your choice to return to your people and live with your white children, I will send a party of my young men to escort you to safety. I am a white man. I have a wife and children. I will return to my own people, Obeil said. Cornplanter nodded. I respect you, my father. Before they left the Mohawk, Cornplanter assigned several young warriors as an escort for Obeil, his wife, and children. Red Jacket, Brant, and Cornplanter comprised the great triumvirate of Iroquois chiefs who led their people in the trying post-war period of the Revolution. In later years, Cornplanter became a religious zealot and a bitter enemy of Red Jacket. In the winter of 1801 to 1802, he traveled to Washington as the guest of Jefferson, who became his frequent correspondent. He died February the 18th, 1836, aged about 100 years, on a reservation of over 900 acres in Pennsylvania.
You